Hi everyone, today we'll be working on a dress. Now we've done dress before, we've done ponchos, wraps and sweaters and cardigans, but not a dress. So today we're going to be doing a dress. Actually dress is basically just a sweater, but it's longer, you see. Now the pattern that we're going to be doing is very simple pattern. I didn't make it complicated because the pattern stitch in between is going to be a mixture of colors, you see. So what I wanted to do was this. Now because the pattern stitch, as I worked it, I realized that it actually shortens the width that you can actually do on a loom, you know. See, because the round loom, the one with the 41 pegs, this is the pattern stitch that we'll be working on, you know. Now the round loom, this is the 41 peg loom, can only manage 16 inches if you do this type of a stitch on it, you see. So as a result, I've had to readjust my whole idea of how I was going to do this, you see, and with how I was going to extend the width of our dress, you see, because we can only do 16 inches on the loom. Normally what I would have done was to make it another 2 inches here and 2 inches here. I would have used single crochet chain one, single crochet chain one, like that, you know, and gotten another 2 inches here and 2 inches here. Or I would have asked you to use a bigger loom like the long loom, which is 22 inches, and but that 22-inch loom would only give you 20, because like I explained, this particular pattern shortens the actual width that you would normally get from the loom, you see, because the round loom you can manage about 18 inches on that, you know, but you can't with this pattern when you work it. I think it's because of the Fair Isle, the way that the yarn floats at the back shortens the whole. It's stretchy, very very stretchy, but unfortunately the finished the finished width is not what it normally is. It would have been 18, but it isn't. It's only 16, you see. So what I'm going to do is that we'll have to work both the front and the back. Pattern is very simple. You cast on all the stitches on the, if you're using the long loom, all the 62 pegs on the one that normally works 22 inches, it will work for you 20 inches. So you can get a 40-inch width, you know. So if 40 inches is enough for you, for me actually 38 inches would have been enough, but I like a little bit of more room. 40 inches is just snug and nice. But I decided, because I'm lazy, I decided to use the round loom so that I have to work only 41 pegs instead of the 62 I would have to work if I used the long loom. So now what is going to happen is very simple. We start off by doing a rib. So that means you will do a, but not the traditional knit one purl one rib. My rib is going to be a garter rib, see. So we'll do, after you cast on, we'll do the chain cast on this time, you know, after I worked on that poncho, the one with the pinwheel patchwork. That one taught me a very very neat way of doing the cast on. So we'll cast on, chain cast on, then we'll work 1 row of purl, 1 row of knit, 1 row of purl, 1 row of knit, 1 row of purl. So you will have 3 purl rows and 2 purl knit rows. That will give you a very short little garter rib, but it's enough for it to not curl anymore, you see. So it will stay flat. This amount of a rib, you work it in the main the first color, whichever the color you want to use. Since I'm using 2 colors, which color you want to use, you just pick that and do that. Then we will start on the pattern itself. I'll show you how to do the pattern. What we'll be doing is actually we will be alternating the pegs. If we continue using the same color on the same peg, you'll get straight vertical strips of one color. But if you constantly keep changing every row which color you wrap, that means if it was the pink the row before and you wrap it with a purple, and here it's purple, you wrap it with a pink, what you will get is this kind of a pattern which is constantly changing, you know. This was what I was talking about, you know, the pinstripe look. If you were to wrap every peg with the color that is already on the peg. That means you repeat. If a purple appears on that peg, you wrap it with a purple, and the next one will be a pink. If you do this, you will get a pinstripe or vertical stripe look for the same pattern. You do exactly the same thing. Only thing is that you are consistent with the color changes. And if you compare it with this, where you are changing every time the row changes, you change the how you place the yarn on the peg. If it's purple, you put a pink, and if it's pink, you put a purple. You get a kind of a cross stitch look as opposed to a pinstripe look. This would actually, if you were to do it on the long loom, which has 62 pegs and can use finer thread, you would actually get quite fine vertical stripes, and they would look like pinstripes. And of course, it's a very busy looking piece, you know. And that's why up here I will, at 4.5 inches, you will stop the pattern stitch and work in one color. I'll be using the pink here, and the bottom here was purple. So you just work a straight bit all the way. It's all straight all the way up. I had initially wanted to put in slopes and all that, but then I found that it's going to be very, very difficult if I'm going to add the 2 inches, which I would be ending up doing if I'm going to work this on the round loom. So I altered the pattern and made it into a straight bit. And the sleeves will be, mine will be purple, and the rolled collar will be a mix of pink and purple. We'll probably do it in stripes. We'll see, you know, I mean, if it is too much and too busy looking, maybe I would do it in a single color, possibly pink, you know, since I'm going to do the sleeves in purple. Now, that's about it. Okay, I will show you the pattern later, and of course the sleeve, I will be actually putting it back onto the last but one loom in size. It's the smallest last but one loom. That means the very small loom was the 24 peg loom. Then there is one before that, I think it's 31 pegs. We'll be using that to work the sleeves. You know, we will 7 inches here. We will when we join up, we will leave 7 inches. We will hook back these 7 inches, both back and front, back onto the loom and work a sleeve. Now the yarn we'll be using, my goodness, aren't they attractive colors? This is royal purple. I love this purple. Look at that. It's a lovely color, isn't it? And it, you know, although it doesn't really go very well with my skin, but I love this color. And I've combined this with this pink. They are actually 6 millimeter, yes, 5 to 6 millimeter crochet hook or knitting needles, and it's 100% acrylic. It's 100 grams. Each of these skeins are 100 grams. Now, I think, and oh yes, I forgot to mention, we'll be working a cowl neck. If you don't want a cowl neck, you don't want to work, you can leave it, you know, and you'll get a boat neck. It'll roll a bit, you know, if you leave it unfinished. At that point, you can either finish it off with a single crochet, or if you want, the last few rows, you can work them in garter stitch, you know, so your collar won't roll if you want to do that. But, you know, I mean, I think that the cowl neck would look very nice. You know, you could add a very nice little rolled collar up on it. I think that would look rather pretty. But then, you know, that's up to you. Now, I think we can do a hooded, because we haven't done anything hooded before. I think maybe we'll put a hood on this. Because it's only 34 inches, you know, from the shoulder to the part where it ends is 34 inches. And here I will be making it 40 inches for the round loom. And if you are working it on the long loom, you will get 40 inches. And if you want to extend however much, if you've got bigger hips, you can follow my method and extend it further, the width, you know. But if you're happy with the 40 inches, then you don't have to work this extra bit. You just work it the first part and don't add the 2 inches, which I'll be teaching you how to do later. So you will just have a, if you work it on the long loom, you'll have a 40-inch width dress. Okay, I mean, then we'll start on the pattern. Okay, this time round, I'm not going to be using the E-wrap cast on. I'm going to try doing the chain cast on. And we will also be working a garter rib, which means that you will work about 3 rows of pearl in between 3 rows of knits, you know, before you start the pattern. So now to do this, you start, you know, this is the marker. I've always got something over it because I don't want it to get caught on things, you see. So now since you want to start from here, you will have to go in the opposite direction of where you're going to start, so that you start casting on the chain cast on from here, so that it'll end here, and then you can start from this, you know, from this row. All right, now this is how you do the chain cast on. Hope you can see that. You put it in the, you put the chain that you just created, the adjustable knot, onto the hook. Now you slowly pull this through like that. I already missed it. Now go to the next one, keep on pulling it through like that. This is very easy to do on the round loom, you know. When I was working on the poncho, you know, the one with the hexagonal blanket thing, that's where I learned to do this, you know. Kristen did it so well, and I thought, hey, this, and it makes such a pretty cast on, you know, much better cast on than the E-wrap cast on. It looks very nice, but unfortunately when I try to do this on the long loom, I can't seem to get the corners correct, you know. When I turn around the corners, it doesn't look correct. All the time it looks a bit off, you see. So I've never quite been able to do the chain cast on a long loom, you know. But on the round loom it works very well, you know, probably because it curves as it moves, so you don't have any nasty corners to come across, where the chain cast on doesn't seem to work very well. As you go, you twist your needle, you know. If you want to know how to do this better, since my instructions are very poor, you can just look up chain cast on loom knitting, and there are various videos that people have put up on how to do this particular cast on. So, you know, if my method of instruction is very poor, there are other teachers on the internet for you. This particular part I'm not terribly good at teaching, actually, you know. And yet here I am very blasé about my videos, trying to teach people how to do this and that. Poor instructions. I think maybe because I'm secure in the knowledge that there are better videos out there. Okay, now we've come to the last peg. So this is your first peg, in fact. Not the last peg, it's the first peg. So this is where you're going to start. See? You've cast on. It's a very neat cast on, you know. So after you've done the cast on row, I think you start off with a pearl is better, because this row, you can consider it the cast on row. We'll start with a pearl. So we'll start with a pearl, knit, pearl, knit, pearl. That should be enough. That will give you the 5 rows. That means all in all will give you the foundation for the bottom part of this dress. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier that the back is worked exactly like the front. Okay, I've done the pearl, knit, pearl, knit, pearl, knit rows. So there's 3 pearl rows and 3 knit rows, and that's where this is the bottom. So the bottom will not curl anymore. Okay, now we will start with the pattern stitch. Okay, now firstly, make a knot. Okay, now this is the last part that you've done. Put this here. Okay, now miss the next peg, wind your yarn through that. Next peg, miss one, keep on missing the one peg. Miss one peg, wind the yarn through the next one. Okay, keep doing that. Okay. Thought I'd reached the end, actually I didn't. Now, okay, up to there. Now lock this in place by doing the last peg, you know. Just lift the bottom yarn and put it on top. So this locks it in place, it won't move anymore. Alright, now go back and all the pegs that you did not wind earlier, all these pegs that you didn't wind earlier, now you wind it. All the pegs that you didn't wind with the pink, you now wind with the purple. Now, you wound all of them. When you reach the last but one peg, again do the same thing. Lift the bottom one and put it on top. Now, go back and knit over all the pegs that you have just worked. Okay? They should alternate. One should be purple, the other should be pink. Or is it fuchsia? What is this? Fuchsia, whatever color. I can't remember how to pronounce that word. Push it down. Huh? There should only be one, and the color should alternate, you see? Pink, purple, like that, okay? You know, this is a type of intarsia, you know. No, it's not intarsia, sorry. It's fair isle. This type, because the thread is floated at the back. When that happens, it's actually fair isle, not intarsia. Intarsia doesn't do that. Intarsia has a different technique. Intarsia uses several balls, or you put the colors in different bobbins, you know, and that's how you work them. Okay. Go back and examine. Look at the way that the thing floats at the back, you know. You can see that it floats across two pegs, you know. The yarn. Now you have the yarn that is here. Now what you need to do now is that the pegs that you, if you were to just continue following the same pattern, that means you wrap the pink with pink and the purple with purple, you'll get vertical lines, you know. They will be like you change color every peg, you know, and so you will have one straight line of, but that's not what I intend to do, you see. So instead, what I'm going to do now is that we'll go back, and this time you wrap the purple pegs with pink and the pink pegs with the purple thread. All right, let's do that now. Now, one thing, before you start wrapping, don't let the purple thread or the pink, depending which one it is, don't let it go inside, you know. You have to leave the thread outside. Make sure that it is sitting on the outer part of the loom. Don't let it be inside, because then you'll be caught in between the other thread, you know. So make sure that you leave this behind like that, you know, where it's supposed to be, you leave it there. And don't let this, if you put it inside, it will get caught by the pink when you're wrapping it. Make sure you do that. Leave it on the outside. After a few rows, you will notice this. See? They keep alternating. This is the kind of effect you're looking for. The kind of effect that you're going for is this. To alternate it. At the back, it will look like this. And remember, when you're working it, the thread that you are using here, when you start working one, make sure that this part here is always outside. Never let it go inside, because you get it all caught inside, no? So make sure you do that. See, now the purple is here. I will wrap the pink. All the pink rows will now be wrapped with the purple, and all the purple rows will be wrapped with the, all the purple pegs will be wrapped with the pink, and all the pink pegs will now be wrapped with the purple. I hope you get a general gist of this pattern. Don't forget that you're always putting the opposite color when you're winding. That's how you get the colors to change every row. Make sure that, you see, when you wrap, you see this is pink, you wrap over the purple, and the purple you wrap over the pink. That's how you continuously do this until you reach 29.5, at which point we'll be using only the pink to do this part. I seem to have been completely over optimistic when I picked this loom, thinking that I could make it very loose and get 20, but instead what has happened is, I think it's the nature of this Fair Isle, because this is the back. You can see that the floats at the back, instead of making it looser, it's actually gotten tighter. Of course, it's very, very elastic, but I don't want to rely on that for the, because it would look very odd when you wear it if you're going to just rely on its stretchability, and it won't look very attractive. You can rely on it slightly, but it's actually now 16 inches instead of the 20 I was hoping. I will be making a border on both sides, on the back and front. Each side I'll do 1 inch, so that will give me an overall increase on one side of 18 and 18 will give me I'll have to do 4. So each side I will get 17 and 18. 18 and 18 will give me 36, which isn't enough. So what I'll need to get is both sides to become 20. So I will have to have 20 here and 20 at the back. So I'll have to do 2 inches a border. One side will be pink and the other side I will do it in purple. So I will work in single crochet, probably chain 1, single crochet, chain 1 border. Now, since most of you will be working this, which I do advise strongly, so that you would not end up with a width that will not be very suitable for your hip measurement, I suggest that you use the 62 peg loom. So as a result, whatever measurements I'm giving here, I will give also for the 62 peg loom. And what I will be doing with regards to this is that I just want to tell you this in case you want to follow the same thing. If you are interested, I will be adding 2-inch single crochet up to the armhole, which is 7 inches down. And same thing on this side also, 2 inches I will extend. So it will give a border of a solid color on the back and the front. And then here at this point, when I reach 29.5 here, I will work this top part in pink. I just realized something else, because this particular loom, normally when I work on it, I can get 18 inches, That was the thing. But in this pattern, I noticed that I only got 16. So I believe even with the long loom, the 62 peg loom, you will get a 2-inch decrease, you know. So you'll be only getting about 20 inches. So I will have to make the calculations based on 20 inches. So if you're having difficulty with the measurements, meaning if you cannot, if your hips are larger than 40 inches, then you will have no choice but to add a extension, you know, so that the hips would fit. That part of it, I probably you'll have to add that in, you know, work it in single crochet in. Either that or you work it on a bigger loom, you know, like the Cindy wood loom or the Afghan or the Serenity loom if you want something that's larger. Otherwise you'll have to follow this idea where you extend it with single crochet and chain single crochet for 2 inches. Once you have reached 29 inches, what you need to do is that you need to continue with one color only, and this time you wrap every peg with that color. Now I'm going to go ahead with pink, so I will cut off the purple, alright. So the purple is removed, leaving only the pink. Now the pink, now that you are here, you leave the purple there, and what you need to do is that this time when you go back, you wrap every peg with that color, and you continue with the stockinette for 4.5 inches and then cast off. Now repeat this for the back. Again, the same thing with the ribbing and everything, you do exactly the same, and we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the extension before doing the sleeve. First you mark off from the top 7 inches, which is going to be your sleeve measurements. So mark off from the top 7 inches. Then work, if you're going to use the round loom, it will only give you 16 inches across, which isn't enough. Okay, since my yarn is so thick, I'm using a 7mm hook, and I'm going to start here. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to first lock it in place. We'll have to do I was going to do a half double crochet, but then it's too much work, and it's not that attractive, you know, it's a bit holy, so I decided I wouldn't do that. I would do the single crochet, but you'll have to add chain 1. But the first part here, this garter stitch, you don't need to do it, you know, because it's quite relatively close. So you just do a single crochet here until you get to the part where your pattern stitch starts. Okay, now you will start doing chain 1, and then you do when you pick up both strands, chain 1, go to the next one, pick up both strands, chain 1, pick up both strands, chain 1, pick up both strands. Okay, and the reason why we're using a big crochet needle is so that this part doesn't curl, you know. Now otherwise, you know, there may not be enough, the stitches will not be big enough. When you reach the point where you marked off the sleeve, you turn and go back. But this time when you go back, wherever you have worked the chain, you do a single crochet. So there will be no more chain 1. You will work just a single crochet. Let me see how that works first, then we'll come back and have a look at it. Okay, now those of you who want to use the a round loom and not the long loom, and will end up with a 16-inch width, you will have to extend the sides using a single crochet like I've done here. This is the side. I've done 2 inches here now. Now you have to do it for the back and the front. I'll show you how to do it now. Okay, now we're coming to the marker where the sleeve is supposed to be. We're going to have to stop there. Chain 1, and this is the last one we'll be doing, the single crochet. Chain 1 and turn the whole thing, the whole work, and go back. Now this time when you're working, wherever there is the chain, you go through both, but where you have done the single crochet, you pick off only the top 2 stitches here, you know, and this one and this one. If you have difficulty, use this part of the hook to find the stitch. Okay, I'll show you. Here was the chain 1, so you go back into the chain 1 and do a single crochet. Now it's the part where you're supposed to go here, right? Now there's 1 stitch here and 1 at the back. I know it's a bit difficult to see because it's dark, but you will have 1 stitch at the bottom. Let's try and show you. Okay, this stitch here is at the bottom. There is 1 stitch here and 1 stitch at the back. These 2 stitches are the ones that you have to pick up. So you pick this one. I better put away, otherwise I may accidentally use it. Okay, now pick this and then go through the back one. So you pick both and then you do the single crochet. This one is the chain, so just go through like that. The single crochet is the one that's going to give you a bit of trouble, you know. Sometimes it will be easy to go in, sometimes they won't be. Now you just go on doing this until you get the next row. After that will be very easy because the stitches will be very apparent, you know, where you're supposed to go. You work 2 inches. You're doing the single crochet, and if you're having difficulty going into the top 2 loops of the single crochet for the second row, then don't do it. You know, you can just go through the whole single crochet. The point is that there is a bit of a gap, you know, between where the stitches on the main pattern start, you see, because the stitches were very, very long. So you will have a hole, you see. So that was why I thought that perhaps, you know, if you, when you came back on the second row, to reduce the hole, but then it doesn't seem to be very noticeable. So you can, if you want, you don't want to struggle trying to do the second row into trying to go to the top 2 loops of the single crochet, don't bother, just go through the whole single crochet. But make sure you pick up all the loops, yeah, so that it doesn't appear ugly on the other side. I've done the sides, so you need to join up the sides. After you join up the sides, we will also, the top here, join up enough for you to leave a for your neck, however wide you want it. We'll be working on a hood, so maybe you don't you finish joining the neck, but don't close the join, because you may need to take out some stitches so that you can put the hood, because the hood will come here. Okay, for the sleeve, I've decided to use the 36 peg loom because the armhole after I joined everything is very big. See here, this is the armhole and it's humongous. See, very big hole because of the additional part here. Maybe if you do the other way, if you use your long loom, you may not get such a wide sleeve. So I have no choice, I have to use the bigger loom, you know. It's going to be a very big sleeve. like a bat sleeve like that. Okay, now we're going to use this large loom, and what you have to do is, first of all, you have to have your right side facing upwards. Right side facing upwards. Now you place the armhole inside, and what you need to do is, you see this is a circle, right? Now you pick northeast, southwest, and you join them to four corners of this, well, you know what I mean by four corners, like, you know, I mean, you get the idea, right? So that you equally can divide the stitches inside here. And then after that, you just put a knot and start up twisted stocking neck. Okay, now let's try this. Let's put these two first. This is the join. So let's take the join and place it on one side of the loom, and here the join here, where's the join? Join is there. You take it and you place it. Wow, this is pretty thick, can't even get it onto the thing. You have to only pick one stitch, cannot really put it in. Okay, there you go. Let me see. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18. Okay, there you go. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18. Okay, place it there. I'm trying to put this in the center here. Actually, it doesn't really matter because we're going to go round and round, you know. We're not doing a straight flat panel, you know. We're not doing a flat panel. We are actually doing a circular knitting, you know. And we'll go round and round and round, and we will be doing the sleeve like that. Okay, now you put another one. Somewhere in the center. Put another one here. Put another one. Another two here. Those work. Hopefully it does. If it's not even, all you need to do is just take out the thing, and then you get it all even as far as possible. Okay, then as soon as you have done it, you just take and you knit normally. Okay, we come back after I've properly arranged this. You have, like I said, the right side has to be coming out from the back of the loom, you know, like this. It has to come out from this side, so that when you do, the right side will come out properly, you know, the sleeve. And the inside, the wrong side has to be inside the loop like this. Okay, and you pick up the outer loops, you know, as you do. If you can pick up 2 loops, you pick up both the loops. Alright, as far as possible, do it like that. And you know, some parts you will not have enough, so I took one strand from another part and I put it on the other one. Try and make it as evenly as possible, okay? After that, you just start. Okay, now the important thing you have to remember is that the right side of the garment has to be coming out from the back of the loom like this, you know. And you have the wrong side all inside the pegs here, and try and make it as even as possible. Some parts of it will have big hole like this because of the join, you know, when towards the end when we joined it, this part here has got very big holes because the sides were all the turning pegs were the what do you call, the yarn was a bit loose here, see, so you'll have big holes. What you need to do is later, when you have the leftover yarn that will come out from here, when you use it, when you sew in the ends, try and close up the holes a bit, you know. That's one of the things that you can do with the yarn that you got left over. So okay, you can start actually basically anywhere, but I will start it here. Just put a adjustable knot on top. Sorry. Just place an adjustable knot. This is our adjustable knot. Just place it on one of the pegs. And then you begin to do the E-wrap. And you just lift this, put it over, lift the loops that you put onto the loops that you put onto these pegs, just lift them and put them over. Alright, and you continue doing this until you get the length of your desired sleeve, and towards the end you can put up a few rows of pearls so that you can get a garter stitch, and that will prevent the ends of the sleeve from rolling. Okay, just continue like this E-wrap. You go round and round and round, and finish off the sleeve. This ridge here, make sure that it's always inside, You see, when you look at the one that I did, you see, after I had hooked on the thing, there is no unsightly ridge that appears along the side here, This way, that's why you have to pick up both the stitches, of when you pick up one of the thing to put onto the loom, you make sure you pick up both the chain that is on the side of the armhole, so that the ridge will appear inside and not outside. You see, outside there will be no, as you can see here, there is nothing that shows you a ridge, after you have put up the, you joined up the armhole onto the loom and worked it. You see, this is an important aspect to how a finished piece will look, when you do it's all the little tiny things, like, on how, I mean, it's not about professionalism, but it's about making it look nice, and you don't want things to look like, a bad job, you didn't really bother with it, so make sure you try as much as possible to give it that extra bit of care when you hook the stitches onto the loom, so that they come out nicely on the right side. One more thing, in this one I seem to have forgotten to put it at the where the marker was, so my first stitch was here, so I just used a stitch marker so that when you are finishing where to stop, otherwise you could do half an extra row and not realize it, you see. So this is a marker for where you began the row. Okay, I've done the sleeve. It's about that long, and as you can see here, I finished off with 3 rows of garter, which means if you're doing it on a circular loom, you will just do 3 rounds of pearl. There will be no in between knit stitches because you're going in the same direction, not going back and forth. Now, this dress, it seems, has a peekaboo effect. There's some of the holes all along the side, so when you wear it, you will expose a bit of skin very slightly, Then it's kind of sexy actually, and it doesn't really look that bad. I mean, it's got a nice little peekaboo effect. Okay, there you go. This is the sleeve. It's about 14 inches from the shoulder, and I'll be doing the other sleeve. Then I've already put it onto the loom, and we work this. After we finish this sleeve, we'll come and do the hood. Okay, we'll work the hood in 2 pieces. You make 2 pieces, 10 by 5 by 12 inches. The 12 inches is the amount that you'll have to work. 10.5 is how much you'll have to cast. You make 2 of these size pieces, and then you join them in the center. The round loom, for the round loom, the 41 peg loom, you cast 24 pegs and you work it for 12 inches, make 2. For the long loom, the 62 peg loom, cast 30 pegs and work again for 12 inches, make 2 and join them together. Okay, earlier when we were talking about the hood, I told you that if you're using the 41 peg loom, you cast 24 pegs. So, but if you can also use the 36 peg loom, you see, because when I finish the sleeve, hang on, let me show you the sleeve. Okay, look at this sleeve. Look at the stitches on the sleeve. This is the part of the garter stitch. The stitch sleeves are nice because the gauge of this particular loom, the 36 peg loom, compared to the 41 peg loom, this is slightly closer, so it makes better. The twisted stocking net is nicer, you know. So I'm thinking I'm going to be doing the hood in this instead of doing it on the 41 peg loom. So if you want to follow what I'm doing, you cast on 27 pegs and you make a length of 12 inches, and don't forget the last 3 stitches, make sure you purl them so that when you wear the hood of the hood, where your when it meets your face, you know, the side of your face, and as it comes in front, it doesn't curl. Otherwise it will curl out, you know, if you just leave it at stocking net stitch, you know. Okay, now let me explain that using 2 sheets of paper. Now let's say this is the hood. You have made 2 pieces, alright? Now you'll be joining. When you join, you will join this part, all of it, the 2 joints here, okay? You join up here, you join this part up. Here I have joined them like I would if I was doing a hood, okay? So the hood, maybe I have to hold them up a bit. Now the hood, this part will be the top and this will be the back, okay? Where you've joined all the 2 pieces that you've made. So here, you want this part of the hood not to curl. So to do that, you do 3 purls here and 3 purls here. So that means you'll have to do 1 on the right hand side and the other on the left hand side of the 2 square pieces that you'll be making. Alright? I hope you got that. Yes, I forgot to mention one other thing. You see, when I gave you the measurements earlier, saying that you could either do an 11 inch or a 10.5, I forgot to mention that before you do that, you have to measure your neck, you know. See, I have only joined here. I joined only the shoulder seam. I've only given 3 inches on each side, you know. 3 inches. Okay. So, and I have here 11 inches. Alright. So I can do 10.5 or 11 inches. If I do 10.5, there will be a slight gap where the front comes, you know. So you can either do a 10.5 or a 11 inch, and the hood will come. You sew the hood all along this neck edge after you have finished, you know, the bottom part of the hood, making sure that the pearl sides, the one where you did the garter, comes in front. And whichever side, because this garment is both sides identical, the back and the front, you decide which you want to be the back and which one in the front, and you join up. Make sure you check what your width is before you decide how much you're going to cast on to make this hood, you know, because if you make it bigger than what you have seamed for your neck, you will have a gathered hood, you know, and it won't look nice because it won't be smooth, you know. So try as much as possible to make it smaller than what your neckline is. Okay, after you have cast on, I did the chain cast on, you mark the 3 stitches that you're going to have to purl every time you come back, and here you mark the last stitch so that you don't accidentally extend it. Alright, I've marked, so I've cast on 27 stitches. You do E-wrap stocking net, then on the return row, when you reach here, you do 3 purl, then you E-wrap stocking net, then come back. When you reach here again, do a purl for these 3. So you only do the purl on a return row so that you will get a garter, that will be a garter edge, and that will prevent the curling. Okay, after you've done just a bit, you can see here, this is the garter edge, And this is the twisted stocking net that's going on. Don't worry about this curl because you'll be joining it to the back of the neck, you know. And the curl over here will be joined to the other part of the hood. So everything is covered, you know. This part is going on to the neck. This part will be by your side, and this doesn't curl. Now that you've done these two pieces, this is where the garter edge is. Put the two garter edges together here and sew this part here and this part here, so that you will have this kind of a join there and join there, so that it will open out into a hood, which you can join this part to the collar. Okay, after you join, it should look like this. The joins and here. Now you take this part. Here is where your face is going to come out. So you join this part here to here to the collar. That should complete the hooded dress. Okay, here you must pin the hood to the body of the dress and check and make sure it's centralized. You can try it on to see whether it has been put properly. Try not to close this gap, you know, give a little bit of space, otherwise it's gonna kind of choke you on the neck kind of thing, you know. So at the back also, check that it's central. What you need to do is, here you take the center part of the point here by measuring from shoulder to shoulder. Here to here you measure. You take the central part, then mark it, and then put the center part of the hood there. And then you pin it here. Then try it on. The reason I put so many pins is because I tried it on, you know, to see whether it was centralized and it fit. After that, sew it on. It's my advice that when you sew this onto the neckline, you sew it in part. You sew this side and then you stop at the center. Then you sew this side and stop at the center. Don't try to go from here all the way across. I think it won't be a very happy joining, because I think you'll have difficulty because of the very unwieldy nature of this hood, you know. So it's my suggestion that you break it up into two parts when you do this. I thought there might be some difficulty with regards to how to join the hood to the neck seam, because now here where you see all these knit stitches, you just go through all the V's, you know. Wherever you see the V, you pick up the V here and you go here, and below the seam of the neck you pick up these V, you know. The idea is don't pull it too tightly, so that the thread that goes from here to here will form a V as you go crisscrossing, you know. But here where we start off is a bit different because it's a pearl bump, you know. But in the beginning there is no pearl bump. So what you can do is that you start off here. Okay, we start here. We pick this one. This part here you might have to tighten a bit, you know, because we're not doing the pearl bump yet. You see, you pick the V here. See the V here? Go across and pick the V to join. Don't tighten just yet. Now we go back into the same hole. Pick the next V. See, when you do this, when you close it, it forms a continuation of this stitch here, you know. That is the whole idea of doing this here, you know, as you go. Now you go down again, pick the next V and go here, pick the next stitch. I love this needle, you know, look at the way it curves, so easy to use it. Go back, go through the next V. Now you will see how this pays off, you know, when you come here. Now, okay, now let me see, I show it to you. You see this? When you pull it slightly, it forms a continuation of the stitch, you know, although the stitches are upside down, you know, one side is in this direction and this one is in this direction, but still they will continue here. As you can see here, the stitches tend to continue, and that is the whole idea behind this kind of a join. You want to make it as invisible as possible when you wear it so that it cannot be seen, you know. Don't worry about this part. When you sew in the end, you can just close the gap that is here, you know. So because I wanted to pick the stitches that would match, you see, so that's the whole thing about the, okay, here we go. Slight tightening here. All right, don't tighten too much because you want the seam, this thread, to hook in between, you know. I'll show you a bit more before I go off. Keep going into the hole that you left, you know. All right, here you go through. Now go through this one. Because these stitches are rather big, it's a bit difficult for you to see. Okay, see that? They don't look like they have, it's like a continuation between the two. Anyway, I've done it in a bit of a hurry, but you adjust the stitches accordingly and make sure that they line up, you know, as you do them. I said, like you see here, this is lined up, you know, they are in a straight bit here. This one, you see, this is the part that I sewed. It's coming down from here. Here there is this part here which is the pearl bump, you know. So this part will not really match very well with this because this one is twisted stocking net and this is the pearl bump. But it's only 3 stitches, you see. So after that you should be able to match the stitches accordingly. As you can see from here, I've done a few of the stitches and they're practically invisible, you know. The join is almost invisible here. Can you see that? Because the thread here is where the join is and it follows the V, you know, and so it gives an impression that this part here is just a continuation of this from here to here. Now here, this is the back. I've done up to the halfway point here. Now you see the seam. Can you see the way that the stitches run, that you can't actually see the join? That's the whole idea behind this kind of a join. When you come to the shoulder seam here, this time you pick the stitch that is in between. You can see this, you know, there's a ridge here, you know. That's the part that you have to pick up, you know, when you come to the shoulder seam here, and so that you can continue with the flawless join. As you can see, it's practically seamless. You know, there's of course there's a little bit of an indentation, but it's a prettier way to seam. But you have to use a needle and the yarn to do this part. You can't do a crochet join; it won't look nice. And the hood has to look nice, you know, so that when you wear it, if you put on the hood itself, when the hood is worn, this part here doesn't show very ugly seam, you see. This part is important. Now you've done halfway. Now you go back and you work on the other side, okay? And that will be the end of it. Okay, after you finish, you may actually have to take out some stitches over and over again until you get it to sit properly, because you know the stitches are not exactly the same where you're putting across the neck, you know. So try and get, don't pull too much, and get it to look something like this. Okay, see the front, and that's your hood onto the neck and with a small opening there. Well, happy looming.